Turn up my mic volume. Welcome to Small Biz and Coffee, you guys. How are you all doing? This is kind of an impromptu episode today. Honestly, all I was doing today was setting up my equipment to live stream. I wanted to kind of set up this area a little better. And then I was like, it's already set up. I might as well just hop on and do my podcast right now instead of in the morning. So I just decided to do that because I really had this topic today on my mind. And it was a topic of how you deal with your business when it's stagnant. So that's kind of the topic because I do get that quite a bit of people coming up to me saying, or, um, everything was good when I first started, but sales started dropping off, feeling a little bit discouraged. So I wanted to talk more about that feeling, how to turn it around, my personal experiences with business over the years, and kind of give you some tips and hopefully set your spirits back up if that is you or has ever happened to you. Let's talk about that because I feel like it's one of the realities of having a business. So, if you are new to Small Biz and Coffee, this is a live stream podcast on YouTube, but I do upload the episode afterwards onto streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast. So, if you want to listen to the audio version, go ahead and subscribe to me on those platforms. And what's great about tuning in live is that you can ask questions and all that good stuff. So someone commented that there is a low sound. Does it sound good now? I turned up the volume, so let's see if that works. My son was playing in here, so volume is too low. Okay, let me see. How's that? I think my son was playing with this before I got into this chair. So let's see how that is. Is that better, you guys? How's the volume now? Testing out the volume. Okay, now we're good. So I might have to redo that little intro just so that I can cut the video or cut it when I repost onto streaming platforms. So welcome to Small Biz and Coffee, you guys. This is a live stream podcast where we talk about small business and all of that amazing stuff. So in if you're new to Small Biz and Coffee, it's a live stream that we do on YouTube and you can chat about the topic and everything. But if you can't catch it live, you can subscribe onto Spotify or Apple Podcasts where I will repost the stream there and it will be audio version so you can listen while you're driving and all of that. So thank you all for tuning in live, and my glasses do have a glare, so I try not to look directly into the light there, but I am reading your comments. So, we are going to be talking about business and how it feels when your business is stagnant. So, like I was saying when I first started the podcast up, I was just setting up this room. I wasn't intending on getting on it and doing a podcast, but I just had this pop into my head. So, this is really impromptu, but I do have some notes and tips for you guys. And I just finished my work day. So, that's kind of how things are going. So, that's how my day is going so far, and this little piece of hair is just sticking up. So some updates on what's been going on with me. So yesterday I did my first class with kids, and it wasn't really a class, it was the sand candles. So a while back in one of my YouTube videos I mentioned that sand candles was something I was trying to implement in my store. I wanted a quick way for people to come in and make their own candle because a lot of people like interactive things and all of that stuff. So I thought of the sand candle idea. It's nothing new, but I just, thought it would be really cool to have that in the store. And it started doing really good. So I took it out to an event that we did last week. So I set up a sand candle station. It was our number one seller. The sand candles sold more than, I don't know if monetary, it was more than the other candles I sold, but I sold more quantity of sand candles, if that makes sense. It was like our number one thing that was selling out there was the sand candles. And just yesterday, my husband helped me. Thank goodness he helped me because we had an RSVP of 23 kids. that were going to come with their parents to make sand candles from the local elementary school. It's kind of like an event they were doing with the school. More kids showed up than 23. It was more like, I would say, 35 kids. And we sold over 40 sand candles in about an hour. Some of them made multiple candles. So those sand candles have been doing great. If you have wondered about how to get people interacting with your candle booth when you're at craft shows or something like that, the sand candles are an amazing thing to add. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say sand candles, it's basically a granular wax that you add fragrance to. And this whole process uses no heat. So you add fragrance to a granular type of wax, and I use the Pillar of Bliss wax from Nature's Garden. And you just add fragrance, add color to it, and then it gives it like a sandy texture. And then people can just scoop it into the containers and you can light it just like that. It's not going to produce this amazing hot throw or anything like that, but it's just a fun way for people to make a quick candle. So I know typically we're told that we need to heat up wax to like incorporate fragrance. So what makes the sand wax different is, since it's like these fine grains, the grains actually distribute the fragrance throughout the wax. So even though you're adding wax directly to coal, or adding fragrance to like, hard wax, cold wax, I guess, the little grains help to distribute the fragrance. So you don't have to worry about any um, like fragrance pulling up or causing any, I guess you could say, fire hazards, because the fragrance never pulls up enough to where it would like combust or anything like that, if that makes sense. But yes, sand candles are a number one seller. But so we are going to talk about what to do if your business is stagnant. So I have some notes for you guys, and I just kind of came up with this because honestly, I go through stages of this. I would say every year and a half, I do go through like stages where I feel like doubting myself or kind of second guessing, or what am I going to do next, or sales aren't as good as they were this month, blah, 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 blah. So you feel like your business isn't progressing and you start to doubt yourself and you wonder if you can even make this thing work. So have you ever felt like that? Because personally, I have felt like that. Um, and it really does put me in a place where it kind of just spirals. So I'll start to be like, oh, okay, well, this didn't go as planned. So maybe I had some type of launch I was going to do, or some type of collection I was going to do, but it didn't go as planned. So it kind of puts me in a bad mood because I'm like, oh, this didn't go as planned. And it's almost like a domino effect where that happened, but then I feel like I'm not doing good enough. So then I just kind of, my mind just goes to all these other places. And then I just feel like, oh, should I even be making candles? Should I be thinking of starting this type of company? Or maybe should I just get a normal job again? Should I just like quit this all and just go work somewhere else? And then I'll be like looking at other jobs. I do this all the time. I'll go on Indeed and I'll be like, what if I became like an engineer instead? Or what if I did this instead? Because I don't really know if candles is like something I should be doing. I go through this cycle, I would say every year and a half. And I just realized that I do this, and it's something that I do kind of, and it just really is like a domino effect. And it starts because I think that my business isn't doing as good as I think it should be doing. And eventually I start growing out of it. I kind of take a break and then, just keep on moving. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Someone said all of that. Yes, absolutely. So, what could be causing this, and what I'm going to just talk from my experience on how this whole thing happens for me. I've had this happen pretty drastically, I would say twice, where I just feel like it's just not working out. It's not doing what I think it should be doing. And I would say the last time this happened was pretty recent, and it lasted for about 4 months, where I just kind of feel like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? So for me, when it does happen, it lasts about 2 to 4 months, where I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, honestly. So what could be causing this? So I've kind of thought about it myself, and one problem that I particularly have is not having enough new products. So your customers do get bored of your products if you're not releasing new ones. So imagine like one of my number one customers, anytime I launch something, she will buy it. So imagine if I don't launch a new product, they're going to get bored of it because how many times are they going to buy the same product? They're going to want something new, something interesting. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking or this new crazy collection, just something new. So I'm trying to do better about releasing new things. Honestly, I do a lot better with it in my storefront because I can just like make a candle really quick and put it out there versus online. You do have to like take pictures, make a listing, and all of that. So it is a little bit more of a process to post new things online, but I'm slowly getting better about that. And I know that people constantly, they don't constantly, but people do want to see new items. Your customers do get bored of your items. So just think if you went on to your favorite antique store and they never change anything and it's the same thing every time you walk in there, eventually you're probably going to be like, well, I went there last week and then the week before that and there was nothing really new. So if I go this week, it's probably going to be the same things. So it's kind of the same thing for your online business too. So think about having a consistent, like maybe once a month, having new products out just to get people excited and coming back to your store. So that's something that I personally am working on a lot. So that could be causing, or one of the reasons why customers aren't returning because you're not making anything new for your shop. Another reason could be no customer engagement. So are you one of those people that have your website up and then that's it? Like, you just have a website. So you probably aren't really sending emails. Maybe you're not talking to people through social media or engaging online. So even though you might be posting photos or something, maybe it's not content that encourages people to engage with you. So if you are posting like a photo of your product, next to a bathtub or something to show it, maybe someone would think that that's a cute photo, but it's not actually engaging with the customer. So for me, I just mentioned an example at the beginning of a super engaging activity with your customer, the sand candles. So that's another reason that I wanted to do the sand candles was just because it is a way to engage. And I got to talk with parents doing that, talking with kids. The first girl who came yesterday she was early. And I'm so glad she came early because once all the other kids started trickling in, it was very hard to just like talk to anybody. I was like back and forth, back and forth. But she came and she was so interested in the candles. She was asking me about my business and she was there with another woman, not sure if it was her mom or something, but they were both asking me about business while she was making the candle, how I got started, how you make a candle, and little engagements like that could actually stick with someone for a long time and make that connection. And even when she was done, I was like, when you're done, you can come back and I'll actually show you how to make a candle. So for a brief moment, I got to show her how to make an actual candle. So making connections can be another really great improvement for your business. So not just posting photos and just putting things on the internet and having them there, but making content. If you are just making content online, make it engaging. If you're going to vendor events, figure out how you can talk to people. So I know sometimes talking to people can be tough and you may, I was like that too in the beginning. It was very hard for me to go up to people and talk to them. I've gotten so much better about that over time. So now it's very easy for me to ask questions or engage with someone, talk, just like small talk to really get them interested in the product. And even if they aren't interested in the product, you're talking to them. So just by talking to them, you're making a connection and they'll remember you more than just passing by or just seeing your, photo of your candle in the bathroom or something like that. So that's another thing that you can try out to get your customer engagement up, to get people excited about your products. And then another reason that you could feel or you could have a stagnant business or no growth showing in your business is you're not giving people a reason to shop with you. So there are so many different people to shop with, online. There's so many clothing companies to shop with. So give people a reason to come to your store. That could kind of be a difficult thing to think about. Like, what is your reason? Why is someone going to spend their hard earned money with you? So think about what makes your business unique or even you unique. So maybe you overcame some adversity and there's a reason you started your business. So that could be a reason enough for people to shop with you. They can connect with you. Maybe you have, you know, something like that you can connect with people on that level. There are some people who really like environmental, business, and they're really into helping the environment. Maybe you're a candle company or some type of company that plants a tree or something with every purchase. That can make it someone shop with you over shopping with another candle company. So give people a reason. So for me, my reason is I make unique candles. They're all handmade. I can make some really cool designs, or the scents are very strong, and that can kind of sway people to shop with me. Just them looking at the candles, they'll be like, wow, it looks good enough to eat. Or having candles that are handmade in, the US, or if you're in Canada or another country, someone could appreciate having a candle handmade in their country and supporting a local shop. So really think about your unique selling points, what makes you unique, so that you can relay that to the audience and give them a reason to shop with you instead of saying, these are my candles. You want them to kind of get that, again, have that connection. Let's see. We have a comment here. So busy in the store and my website stays on Christmas theme all year. I know that I sometimes, especially my Etsy, I feel like I kind of got started on Etsy, but it's one of those platforms that I don't think about a whole bunch now. So sometimes it'll be like way past the holiday and it's still like themed for like Halloween or something when it's almost Christmas. So I definitely know that feeling. And we are going to talk about all of towards the end here. I'm going to talk more about all the tasks that come along with having a business and how it can feel so overwhelming. And we're going to talk more about how we can get to a place where we're managing everything, because it is a lot. But we're talking, let's see, where was I at here? But that's a really great point to make, because I do the same thing. So other reasons why your business may be stagnant. You just don't feel great about your business overall. You feel like you've put in effort, but you're feeling burned out and you're not seeing results. So this is a big one, and I think this is the main reason I go into the cycles of not feeling good about my business, is I'm a little bit burned out. When this happens for me, the last time this happened for me recently, I actually accepted it, because at the end of the day, we're human, right? So one thing that I homeschool my son, right? My husband and I, we tag team and we homeschool my son. He's 5. And one of the things I wanted to do with him was talk about different figures throughout history, like important people. And so one of the first people I chose was Da Vinci. And so we were reading this little book about Da Vinci, and throughout the book, it talked about, like, because, if you know anything about Da Vinci, he kept these journals and he would journal pretty frequently about all the things he was doing. And it would take him years to finish projects. And he would often, like, even the Mona Lisa was never finished. There was so many things that he started that he never finished. A lot of his inventions never came to light. A lot of the things he did were just thoughts. And the things that he has produced, like the art that he's put out, it took him years to do it. So after I read that, I was like, okay, I shouldn't feel so bad about taking breaks, because I feel like we're human, and sometimes we feel like we're conditioned to just keep going and going, especially with the type of media that we consume. Sometimes your brain just needs to recharge. So this last time, I actually, if you notice, I haven't posted a YouTube video. I've just finished one. I'm waiting for the sponsor to approve it, but I haven't posted a YouTube video in almost 2 months. And I'm kind of okay with it, because we just need to take a break sometimes. Like, I just finished huge projects. I opened my store, finished another huge project after that. And I just was like, a little bit burned out. So yeah, my business during summertime barely, I barely made candle sales because I wasn't actively working on my business because I just didn't feel like it. And I think it's okay, especially if you are a one person business or a handmade business, like you have to take breaks too. And I do feel like taking breaks, it helps me a lot mentally because I feel um when I'm starting to feel burned out, not only is it affecting my business, but it just affects me personally. I get more sleepy. I just don't feel like doing much. And then I'm just kind of forcing myself to do work when I'm not actually getting anything done. So I just honestly, for there was about 3 months or so where I just kind of did the bare minimum to keep things going. I'm like, I'm going to do payroll. I'm going to open my store. We're going to make candle orders. I'm not going to do anything new, not going to do anything too crazy. And it was cool. Like, my family and I, we went on a vacation. We went to California. Took my son to Disneyland. I planted a garden and I was still working, but I wasn't really stressed about making sales. And you're probably wondering, okay, so you got to make money, right? So this is where I go on to my next point. Keep money saved for when you want to take a break because it's okay to take a break. I think when you expect a one person business to be doing all of that, it's a lot. It is a lot of work to make the product. First of all, you're making a product by hand, and then you're also marketing, you're making content, you're editing, you're emailing your sponsors, you're emailing customers, you're emailing all these other people, keeping up with inventory. Like that's a lot of jobs. And so I don't feel bad about taking a break. And I can go like hard at certain points. Like sometimes I get, if something needs to be done, I'll get it done. I used to work a lot more when I first started because obviously it was first starting up and I would work pretty much sun up to sundown. But nowadays, I've kind of gotten a grip on business where I can work about 6 hours or so, just like regularly. And there are some days where I'm going to have to work more depending on the project. But there are some times where I'm just going to take a break for 2 months and that's fine. Like I'm just going to do the bare minimum for 2 months. And for me, it was awesome. So this last time that I was kind of feeling burned out, I was just accepted it. And I was like, I'm just gonna learn about something else, just like reset my brain. So I just, picked up a book, learned about gardening, started doing that, learning about different plants and stuff. And that just really helped. And so when I was ready to get back into it, I was fully charged. I had some new ideas. I was ready to do, all like marketing, creating new products, hitting wholesale harder and stuff. So I feel like it does ebb and flow. So there are going to be times where you just don't feel like, I just don't feel like working hard. So um, it's okay to take a break. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do. And that's why I suggest keep your money saved for those times where you're feeling like you just want to take a break. Because, like I said, we're just people and we're just human, and our brains only can do so much before we just kind of get a little bit overwhelmed. So, personally, um, I don't know if I actually have ADD, but I'm actually gonna get that tested because I really feel like I do. My brain can only work for so long before I want to just like get up and do something else. So on average, I can really only focus about a couple hours at a time on a project. So I'll do something for a couple hours, get up, do something else. And there are times where I'm just like, I don't want to do it at all. I just want to clean my bathroom. So sometimes for me, cleaning the house is a break from if I don't have to think about candles or something. But I'm very all over the place, and that's how I've always been. My friend, she tells me all the time, she's like, you're just doing everything. Like, if I don't want to do something, it really pains me sometimes. Like, even just opening emails, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like opening emails. I'm just going to, and then I'll keep thinking of other things to do besides opening emails. But, it's okay to take a break, you guys, and just to do other things because our brains, sorry, I hit the mic. Our brains can only handle so much. I know my brain can. But to me, it feels really great after I kind of recharge a bit. And then I'm like, okay, we're ready to do some cool stuff. Let's get back into it. Um, but let's see. Oh, Jamie. Hi, Jamie. She's from my old job. Nice seeing you here, Jamie. Hope the hospital is treating you well. Um, let's see. I want to get Christmas season out of the way. I for the first time ever, I have Christmas locked down before Halloween is over. So I just told y'all I took a break, and this is the first time I actually was like, I got my Halloween out, and then I'm gonna do my Christmas. So Christmas is almost done. I have kind of the theme I'm going for. I'm already also getting stuff stocked in my store. So I'm actually really happy with where I am right now because I almost have my Christmas stuff out. So if you are thinking like this is a great time before Halloween ends to start getting Christmas stuff, because November 1st is like it's Christmas already. So yeah, I did a whole thing with my students about um, getting ready for Christmas and all of that stuff. So I would highly suggest to start doing that to really get in on those Christmas sales. So we talked about why our business might be stagnant. Some of it may be mentally, maybe it's you, and maybe you're not all there, and maybe you need a break. And so maybe that's why, or maybe it's your products or something like that. So there are many different things, but I feel like if your business ever does hit that plateau, you can come back from it. Like all you have to do is change it up or figure out what's wrong and then change it up. So we're going to talk now about how to fix these things. So there's a train coming. I live next to a train. So you might hear the train in the background. So how do we fix this? It's so loud too. Um do some market research to find out what people are shopping for. So, have the trends changed? Have shopping habits changed? Or is there a new competitor that maybe came after you and maybe they're getting, more customers? And I'm always like, I personally don't like looking at competitors because it kind of makes me feel like, oh, I'm not doing everything I should be. Oh, wow, they're doing really great. I don't know if I'm doing so great. But I think it is important to look at competitors not from a standpoint that I'm going to take their customers or blah, 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 but you can see what they're doing and what you can do differently to bring people back to you. So sometimes it is nice to look at competitors. You don't have to obsess over it, but it can help you gain some ideas on what other people are doing and what you can do to improve your business too. So analyze why there has been a drop in your business and slowly make changes to see if you get results. So you can see, your analytics. Are people coming to your website? Is there a reason why people aren't coming to your website? Maybe you should test out ads, or maybe you should do some type of email campaign or something to get people back to your website. Now, once you get people to your website, are they going to see the same thing they saw last year, or are they going to see something new? So once you get people there, how do you keep their attention? How do you make them excited again about your business? Don't change everything all at once. So try little things to see what sticks, what doesn't, and it doesn't have to be some big number that you see, right? So it can be as long as you see improvement, then you're doing something right. You may not even be seeing sales, but as long as you're seeing some type of improvement in whatever problem that you're trying to solve, that means you could be on the right path, and you have to keep sticking to it. So some changes may take a while before you start to see results, and like I said, any little improvements are good improvements. So for me, let's see here. Oh, yeah. So it may just take a while. So you don't have to say, well, I'm going to post a TikTok for the next 3 days. And if it doesn't go viral, then I'm going to give up on everything. It takes a while for people to catch on to something new. When people were coming in, like I said, we had the event yesterday. People came into my store, and this happens all the time. I'll say at least once a week this happens. people will ask me, "How long have you been here?" And I'll say, "A year and a half." And they're like, "Oh, I've never seen you." And one person came in last week and she was like, I drive through here every day and I've never seen you. So even though people drive on this street that I'm on, and it's a pretty heavy traffic street, people don't know I'm here. So even a year and a half into business, I'm still trying to get people, I'm still working on getting people to through my doors. So I've learned to do Facebook ads. So local Facebook ads, it's actually been doing pretty good. So I'll probably stick with doing different local Facebook ads for the community. So if you have Facebook and you just want to reach people within your like a 10-mile radius, you can definitely do that on Facebook and Instagram and other ad platforms. So I did one of those and it does help get people in the door. But I have to continuously like do things in the community to get my name out there because people still don't know I'm here, even after being on the busiest street in town. Like it's a small town and this is the busiest street and people don't know I'm here, even with my big sign out front. And mainly because people are kind of on autopilot when they're driving. So they're in their own little world and they're not really looking around. So that's kind of one of the reasons they don't know I exist. So you have to be patient to see results. Even if it's little results, that means you're doing something good. Um yes, the self-comparison is strong in me sometimes. I absolutely know what you're talking about. I used to get very obsessed with going on like Etsy and like seeing all the other shops and seeing who was a new shop. I would always go and say, "Oh, who's new?" So I would type in and say, "Oh, that's a new candle maker," or blah blah blah. But I think there's a healthy balance because you do need to see what other people are doing, but at the same time, you don't have to like obsess over it. And I think as long as you are working on being innovative, that is something I learned, and you will never have to worry about competition. So, as long as you keep innovating and thinking of new, exciting things that are original, not necessarily like you have to reinvent the wheel, but things that, really resonate with you and your brand, I think that will help a lot. And it's nice to think that you came up with something, it was your thing that um, you designed or came up with, and if it's doing really well, it makes you feel really nice. And I forgot to tell you all, I don't think I told you all on YouTube or any platforms, but recently I was featured in the Better Homes and Garden magazine. I don't have the magazine here with me, I have 3 copies of it at home, but that really made me feel like, wow, something that I designed, came up with, and put out into the world, like got featured in a magazine. It might still be on the shelves. It came out in like September, but I don't think I ever told y'all on YouTube. I know I posted on Instagram, but it was like a 4-page spread. It had an interview. I did special projects for them. I made what did I make? I made ice cream candles. That's one thing that I think I did was like sundae candles. So it looked like ice cream sundaes in a bowl. So I did that project, and then a birthday cake candle. And it just really makes you feel so nice when the design is just something that is original to you and you can say you made that, and someone actually liked it and it got featured, and it was just really nice to see that in a magazine. So it's available. It might still be at Barnes and Noble. They only do 4 magazines a year, so it's probably still there. I think it was their fall magazine, but it's Better Homes and Garden Do It Yourself magazine, and it has a couple of tutorials in there too, how to make the ice cream candles and stuff if you're interested in that. Thank you guys. I want to start a business or Etsy shop selling my sewn bags and wallets, but I'm stuck on finding the perfect name for my business. Do you have any advice? Oh, it's Jamie. You can always change the name of your business. So even if you say Bags by Jamie, like it's okay to change it. Like if you ever have a better name in the future, I think it's okay. I do say that naming the business is probably the hardest part, but you can always change it. I think when I first started, I was called Winding with Candle Co. And then I dropped the co and changed it to Winding with Candles. It's not drastically different, but when you're first starting, I think it's okay to just pick a name, and if it does well and you want to stick with it, you can always change it. And I don't think the customers would, mind too much, but um yeah, I think that you should just get it started and then just see what happens. I know sometimes you kind of get stuck on little things like that, but I think the sooner you start, the quicker you will gain like experience. And then because there's so many things to learn, like, because you have to learn, especially selling on Etsy, there's so many learning curves. So if you start now and you just kind of get it started, then you can always change things like the name or something in the future. All right. So where did I leave off here? Um, Oh, here's where the next one I was going to say, audit your time to help with burnout. So, we talked about earlier how sometimes I'm just like my brain cannot compute and I just don't want to think or do too much, right? So, I'll usually take a month or two, month and a half off, not off, but like I'll just do bare minimum basically. So something that really helps with me when I get into those modes where I'm feeling like I'm doing way too much is audit my time. So this is really nice, and I learned how to do this from a class that I took from Tatiana O'Hara called Grindaholics Anonymous. And that class really was more so geared towards people who have employees. That's really what it was for. But one thing I did learn about that class was to audit your time. And it was so nice because you don't think about all of these things, but they all take time, right? So even going into your email, and every email is connected to a task. So once you click on an email, you have to read it, and it's going to be, oh, when is that sponsored video due? And then you have to sit there and be like, okay, when was I supposed to do that video? I'm supposed to do it, and then I have to tell them like this is when I can do it. So every little email is a task. So it does take a long time to go through emails, and then posting just a simple TikTok. Those take time. So go through and audit how you're spending your time to see how you can like what do you need to do versus what is not working for you. So if you notice, I don't post as many YouTube videos because they take a lot of time. And although I feel like YouTube is the platform where I make the most connections, where a lot of people, where I chat the most with people. I do feel like I have enough of a backlog of videos where I don't have to like make videos like every week anymore. So I don't think people are so busy. They don't care about you releasing a video every week. Some of my favorite creators, it'll be like a month goes by and they'll put a video out and I'll be like, oh wow. And then I don't even realize a month has gone by. Like I'll look at their videos and it'll be like it's been a month since they posted a video. I didn't even realize that. So sometimes you may think that I have to do all of these things, but you really don't. So for me, like posting a video a month, I feel like now is fine, um, because people are so busy in their daily lives. They're not worried about you posting a video every week. So audit your time. So those are some things that I've thought about, like um, what was doing that was taking me so much time. So making content was one of them. That's why I switched to doing the podcast live, because if I pre-record it, I will start to nitpick the whole thing, and then it'll take me so long to pre-record it, and then I have to go back and listen to it and then edit it. So it's a lot easier for me to do the podcast live and then just post it. So that's another thing that has helped me a lot. So go through and see what are you doing that is just not worth doing anymore. So for me personally, I do post on TikTok, but I don't make it a thing. I'm not like, because I don't really see sales from there anyway. When I compare where I'm getting sales, a lot of people come from Instagram, which is kind of strange because I don't post as much there. They'll come from Google, which means they're typing my name into Google. Um, so I don't see many sales like people coming from TikTok anyway. So I don't really spend a lot of time there as far as like generating new leads. So there's a lot of things that I have cut back on. And like I mentioned, I probably work maybe 6 hours on average, unless I have something crazy going on. Um, but there was a point where I was just like working, I couldn't even watch TV. Like I couldn't even, I was probably watching a movie or two a month. It was working all during the day, and of course, I have a son, so then you'd have to go home and do all of that, spend time with your family, and then when he went to sleep, then I would go back to work and do this and that. And it was just like so unnecessary. I didn't feel like I needed to do that. Um, so spend time doing things. For me, I found that if I spend more time working on how to make organic sales, that is more valuable. If I learn how, for example, on Fair is a wholesale platform. We went through, my employee and I, we went through and we changed some of the search, the SEO, so that I could show up easier in search, and I get sales from just that. So, what's the point of me making all these TikTok videos when I can get organic sales from learning how a search engine works? Because then all you have to do is change it every once in a while, make sure everything's working, and then you make sales. So, that I can make sales while I'm chilling at home. Why am I doing all of these extra things when I don't need to be doing it? So think about that too. What do you need to spend time on? If you're worried about making sales, what is going to bring you the most sales without you having to burn yourself out? So audit your time. Are there things that you're doing that aren't really bringing in money or don't bring you joy? So everything we do doesn't have to bring in money, right? You may just enjoy making TikTok videos. If you enjoy it, then keep doing it. But if there is something that you're doing that doesn't make you money and doesn't bring you joy, then why are you doing it? It's just, you're just wasting time. So my goal with my business is I want to, you know, be comfortable, make enough money doing something like making candles, doing something I love, and being able to also enjoy my home in my life. So I don't want to spend all of my life working on my candle business. I want a nice balance. So if something you're doing is just not working out, then maybe that's something you need to cut out. So the next thing I have is cut out the fluff and focus on tasks that are working. So, my podcast, for example, I haven't done a podcast. Like, I had the podcast and it was, I did some episodes. It was about a year ago. And then I stopped doing it for like a year again because I was just so busy doing everything. And then I went back at my podcast analytics and I was like, people are actually listening to this on my podcast, not necessarily on YouTube, but when I posted to my podcast, like I'm getting more listeners. It was like, over 1,000 listeners an episode. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should do my podcast again because it was actually working. So maybe cutting back on TikTok, doing the podcast. So look at your analytics and see what's working and just focus on those things, because sometimes we feel like we have to be doing all of these other things because everyone else is doing these things, but we only have so much time in the day, and you don't want to stress yourself out doing so many things that just aren't worth doing. So audit your time, really think about all the things you do. So I would suggest getting a piece of paper, or however you want to do this online, note taking platform, whatever you use, and then start writing every single thing you do. And then kind of figure out how long those tasks take you, and kind of see, well, one TikTok video takes me an hour to film, or going through emails takes me this long. Is there a way that I can organize my emails so that they start automatically going into different folders? That's another thing I do. So all of my Candle Biz Academy students, they go into a separate folder. So I know when I see emails next to that folder, it's important. Or if I get a certain message from like a publisher or something, then it goes to another folder. So see if there's any systems that you can implement so that can help you. So you're not just like scrolling through emails, like, clicking on things that don't matter or things like that. Because if you systematize something, it can make your life so much better. Um, I'm really interested in SEO. I'm telling you, oh my gosh, can you make a video about SEO? I feel like I talk about it a lot, and there may be something. I'm not sure if there may be a video, and it may be earlier on. Um, when I first started posting about SEO, but I'm telling you all, learning, I will give you a quick tip. If you're on Etsy, Etsy has an Etsy seller handbook. And in that handbook, they have a whole section about Etsy search and how Etsy search works. So there's a lot of content out there that can help you. And it does take time. So SEO and the search engines, you have to give it at least a month. So any changes that you make, you have to wait a month. And if you start seeing results, or not, or if you start seeing results, you leave it be. If you don't see anything happening, you may have to change things. So some quick tips about the search engine if you're looking. There's a lot that goes into it, but I always tell people to research before you make anything. So again, I was talking with my students this past week, and we were looking at some keywords for Christmas. So what I personally do, you can use any Etsy search tool. I like to use eRank. There's also one called Marmalade, and these are tools they're third-party tools designed for Etsy sellers. So what those tools do is they give you keywords, and they'll give you insight on what people are searching for, what's popular, so you can see what people are looking for before you make them, right? So let's say Christmas is coming up, you can get some really great keywords. What are people looking for? So are they looking for gingerbread candles? And how you would know they're looking for these things is you can go and look at the keywords, and you'll see how many people are typing them into Etsy. You can see the search trends from last year. So they'll have, okay, in 2021, people started searching for gingerbread candle in November. And then you'll give you a number of how many people were typing that in search. So I really like to look for keywords that are high in search and low in competition, if that makes sense. So you don't want to make something that everyone else is making, because you're going to be competing with thousands of people. But if you find a really niche keyword, there was one that we found, and it was really surprising. It was called, the keyword had to be large candle or huge candle. It had to do with big candles. So apparently there are a lot of people on Etsy typing in large candle, big candle, or something like that. And it's something I would have never thought of, but just by doing keyword research, we found this keyword that people were searching for, but not a lot of people were making. So that's kind of the trick just to SEO, is finding something that's kind of niche that people are looking for. But that's, a quick summary. And there's a bunch of other things, like making sure you're having good pictures, making sure your site looks good, have good reviews, and all of that. But that's just a little touch on SEO. I would suggest starting with the Etsy Seller Handbook if you are on Etsy, because that will give you some really great insight on what you can do to improve your search results there. All right. So, like we mentioned, we audited our time, right? And now we have all of our tasks laid out somewhere on paper or somewhere. And now you're thinking, okay, how am I going to organize these tasks? I personally like to use TickTick, and it is a platform that I have been searching for years for the best way to organize my tasks. I've used paper planners, I've used digital planners that you can get on your iPad. I've used Google Calendar. There's so many different, I've used, what's that one a lot of people use now? Notion. I've used Notion, but TickTick is just, TickTick ticks all the boxes for me. So what this platform or this program is, you can just organize everything. You can make folders. So I have a folder for everything Winding with Candles. I have a folder for everything YouTube, for everything, even my plants have a folder. I have one for homeschool. So you can have all these little digital folders, and you can put tasks into each folder, and then you can assign them to your calendar. So it's just like a beautiful combination. I love TickTick. I've tried so many different things, but that's how I organize my projects. So pick a way. If you really love paper planners, if that's your thing, just have a system to keep everything organized, because it's going to save you a lot of time. Because if you're doing let's say you're just doing something that doesn't really make sense, with your time, then you're just going to be wasting time, right? So if you are, I don't know, playing around in Canva, trying to design a new label when that's not really important, then you're spending time doing something that you could allocate that time later, if that makes sense. You could be watching a movie instead of playing around in Canva, and then just allocate that time for a later day. So if you kind of organize your tasks, maybe I'll do a video one day, kind of showing you my updated routine for how I do my online, or how I organize everything in TikTok. Because I think the last time I've done a video, it was Notion. So I've never showed you all TikTok yet, but I think maybe I'll do a video or something so I can show you a more visual way of how I organize everything. So let's see, does the Etsy keywords help outside of Etsy because I don't sell on Etsy? So search engine optimization, um, like I was telling my students, if you just sell on your own website, it's a lot harder to rank in search. And by search, I mean Google, because Google is very pay to play. So if you think about it, everything is on Google. Every single website on earth is indexed on Google. So on Etsy, the search there is just Etsy. That's why I like to tell people to start on Etsy, learn how to do search, and then do your own website, because when you move to your own website, by the time your Etsy is established, you're making organic sales on Etsy while you're establishing your website. But if you just have a website, you're going to have to be more active as far as getting people to your website. And what I mean is having an email list, keeping up with your social media, however you get people to your website. You're going to have to be a lot more active, because to rank on Google is very difficult, and most people don't scroll past like page 3 of Google, more like page 1, right? How many times do you scroll past page 1? Very rarely. I mean, I do sometimes if I'm really looking for something, but let's say someone types in candle. They're really not looking past page 3 for candles. They're going to say Christmas candles, and they're going to look on the first 2 pages. So again, I did this with my students last week. Because someone asked that same question, and so I showed them how it is very pay to play. So if you go on Google and you type in Christmas candles, it's going to be Yankee Candle, Bath and Body Works. It's going to be all those big candle companies on the first few pages. So you can do some SEO work to your websites, but again, you're going to have to be running paid ads, or unless you have like a big following or something that you can easily get to your website. I would say SEO is not really something you can focus on your own website, like on a Shopify or something. So on Fair, again, I do search terms on Fair, making sure we're showing up on page 1 or 2 on Fair, because Fair, the wholesale platform, is just the people on Fair. Same with Amazon. So I'm on Amazon also. It's so when someone types something into the Amazon bar, you're just, showing up along with the other candle makers on Amazon, versus everybody and their mom is on Google, right? So that's why I do like these other little platforms, because again, it's easier to rank and search because there's less competition compared to just Google. So that is my advice there. All right. So it looks like some people are getting some good tips here. I'm like having a hard time seeing. Let's see. Oh, all right. So I hope that helped you out here. And I got to do some moderation in the comments. Let's see. I don't have a moderator for these. All right. Well, let's see what we have here. Oh, yeah. And speaking of which, let's see. All right, so business is a long-term game. It has become so easy to start a business online, right? We are lucky to live in a day and age where we have the option to start an online business. So think of like in the 80s. If you wanted to start a business, like you were out there grinding, right? And it wasn't going to be an online business. It was going to be some type of brick and mortar or something like that. where you actually physically, maybe you had a storefront, or you had to go door to door to sell something, or maybe you had to call people on a phone. So we are kind of lucky to live in this time where it's easy to start a business. I wouldn't say easy, but it's more accessible to start a business, right? So, and we often forget that um, business is kind of hard, because with all of the media that we consume, it's very easy for people to just post the success stories online, right? So we're just seeing everyone's good side. We're seeing all of their good days. We're seeing when they make 1,000 sales, but we're not seeing those times as often when people are making no sales, or maybe they're like, oh crap, I'm about to go bankrupt, kind of thing. So it is a long-term game, and there are going to be ups and downs with business, and that's very, very normal. So I actually love reading like origin stories, right? I love reading the abouts and how businesses got started. That's one thing I really like. So whenever I come across a new business, I'm like, oh, okay, how did they get started, right? So I pulled up the Yankee Candle story here, because I thought it was very interesting. So we all know Yankee Candle is like this big, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, candle company ever. And so Yankee Candle started in 1969 by a 16-year-old called Mike Kittredge. So he basically melted crayons, which, if you're a candle maker, you're probably cringing, because that's the number one thing you don't do, is make a candle out of crayon. But it was just a Christmas present. So he melted crayons and created a handmade candle, and he gave it to his mom. And of course, you know what moms do. They like to, especially when you make something, they're going to tell everybody, right? So his neighbors somehow found out that his mom, his neighbor somehow found out that he made this candle for his mom. And so the neighbor wanted to buy one, right? And of course, probably the neighbor was like, hey, Mike down the street makes candles. He's a little candle maker. And he started selling more and more candles. So that is kind of how Yankee Candle got started, with a crayon candle, which is so interesting. So in 1970, Mike starts making these candles. Um, and he starts selling to a lot of retail stores. And in 73, they had 12 employees. So if you go to their Yankee Candle, you can kind of read through everything. But remember, Yankee Candle got started in 1969 just by him making his first candle. And I wanted to point out, I'm actually scrolling through right now. So it wasn't until 1983 that they reached $1 million in sales. So from 69 to 83, it took him that many years to reach $1 million in sales. That's a long time to be in business and reach $1 million. So nowadays, for candle makers, it's a lot easier to kind of reach that goal. Not easier, but I would say with the internet, it's a lot more accessible to reach that goal. And in between, if you read the timeline, they had to do a lot of craft. What are they called? Not craft shows. They're called like expos, I guess, trade shows. So they're out here doing trade shows, networking with people before they're able to reach those $1 million sales in 1983. So that gives you a timeline of the biggest candle company in the world, Yankee Candle. It took them that many years to kind of reach that milestone. So it takes a long time. So don't beat yourself up about, um, you know, if things aren't working for you, or if it's taken that long. So like I mentioned, it's taken a year and a half of me being in the store for people to even know I'm here. So think about that too. It takes a long time, you guys. Um, Someone said, I was like, not crayons, not the crayons. Little Mike, he started with crayons. And from what I understand, there is another company called Candle. So I think Yankee Candle ended up selling their company to somebody. I'm not for sure, but Kringle Candle is, I believe, like one of the children of the owner of Yankee Candle. So they were able to like take the money from Yankee Candle, I think, when they sold, and like do it all over again and start another candle business. So it's so interesting how things get started. And yes, I just wanted to let you guys know, like, it takes a long time. So for me, when I got this storefront, so I have a 4-year lease. So I'm very good at being patient. And realistically, I looked at it and I said, okay, I'm in this store for 4 years. My goal for this store is just to get my name out there. My goal is not even to realistically, am I going to just explode to be this, big candle company that in the next, the 4 years I'm here, am I going to be opening up different locations? Am I going to be like $1 million brand? Are people just going to be flooding the stores? That wasn't what I thought at all when I opened this. I had the intention of opening the store really for experience. I did not think the store was going to be this wild success. I didn't think people were going to be flooding in the store. I opened the store for the experience of having a candle store and for the experience of selling in person. So that was kind of my expectations. And to tell you the truth, that's kind of, I mean, it takes time. It takes time when you do anything new, especially like something kind of like opening a storefront or even starting a business. I like to tell people the first year is you learning. So you started your candle business and you're not making any sales the first year. That's kind of like normal if you're just making sales here and there because you're learning and there's so many different things that you have to learn. Um, so yeah, my 4 years in this place, I just is kind of just for an experiment to see if I like having a shop, if, what I'm going to learn and take away from this, am I going to, sign another lease for 4 years? Do I like doing it? Are there any things that I think I could do with my candle business that are different from other, storefronts? So that was kind of my plan for this whole storefront thing. And that's kind of what's happening. It takes, like I said, it just takes a long time to get out there. But yeah, I love reading origin stories. If you ever feel like you're not doing enough or you feel like things are taking too long, read a company's origin story because they're all pretty much the same. It takes them a long time to get started or to get kind of moving. And um, yeah, so I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself to be like in the next year I'm quitting my job. I get so many emails like that. And people are like, I want to start a candle business. What do you suggest? Because I want to quit my job in the next year. And I'm like, it doesn't really work that way. But just hang in there, guys, and just keep learning. Business can be gritty and it has its ups and downs. Sometimes you have your wins, and fails are also part of business. It's not a business unless you don't have some failures in there too. So be okay with that. And if you do have some failures, just learn from it and just see what you can do next time. Don't be afraid of like changing it up. Completely change something up if it's not working. If your candles are not selling, and you feel like whatever brand or niche you started out with just isn't selling, then feel free to change it up and test the waters. Never lose sight of your goals and just be patient. It just takes a while. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. You're a boss. Thanks for all the tips, gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Yeah, so I don't feel bad at all. Like I've been doing this for since 2015. So I've been doing it for like 7, 8, almost 8 years. And am I a millionaire? No, but I feel like I've learned so many things and it's just like it takes time. So remember we were talking about Leonardo da Vinci earlier and he would take like 4 years on one painting. So don't worry about it and just be patient and just be steady and consistent and don't beat yourself up because that could be what makes everything crumble is just like beating yourself up and just mentally it can really put a lot of strain on you. And feel free to take breaks and stuff if you want to take a break and you know, learn gardening for a month and come back to it. It's okay. Don't feel like you have to always be working and hustling. I think breaks are just as good as working. It's almost like refreshing your brain, resting your body, and then all of a sudden the inspiration comes back to you. But we have been on this podcast for quite a bit now. And thank you so much for tuning into my impromptu podcast today. If you are tuning in live on YouTube, or maybe you want to listen again on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I will have this posted up there maybe to the next. I usually have it posted within a day of streaming. So go ahead and follow me there also. But thank you guys so much for tuning into this live stream and podcast. And I will talk to you all on the next one. Bye.